Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is actually we'll build out the program together, and then we can take a look at each individual part and what is happening there. So I'm going to start a new REPL, and I'm going to start with a comment that just simply says password checker version 1. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we'll print out like some sort of like welcoming security statement. So whoops, we can do let's do print. Could say we'll do I'll make something up. You can make up whatever name you want. The name some security systems, and then what we're going to do is we'll next ask for a person's password. So just like we did last time, let's set a variable to be password, and we'll do an equal sign, meaning that it's going to get whatever is going to be inputted. So input, and then we can ask the question, please, or statement, please input your password. Okay. So now we've entered the password, and I'm going to go back up and make a little two things here. I'm going to make a colon and a space. I'm going to put the space there because once we do the check for the password, it's going to be, I don't want it like linked to this, so I'm going to put a little space there, and then when the person enters it, it'll be afterwards. Okay. All right, so next up is now we can do a little check. If password, so we're checking the variable password, whatever the person enters, we're going to fill in for password here, all right? And then we put two equal signs, and then we can put whatever we want to check against. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the safest password around. Okay, if password equals that, then we put a colon. Now, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a string. It has to be, meaning we have to put quotes around it. This is a bit of text. Because remember that the thing the person enters here, the input is going to be text, right? This is whatever the person enters. If it's numbers, especially if it's numbers, it's going to be converted with these little quotes around it. So it's going to be a string. And so we got to prepare for that. And so we're going to compare this password here, right, to this. Okay, so the next line, what we're going to do is we'll do, when we hit enter, it tabs it over, meaning that just like when we did it with our functions, this if statement here, anything that happens tabbed in underneath it is going to be a part of that if statement, or running as a result of that. So we could do print. We could say if they guessed right. We could say access granted. Okay. And then we can say later on we could do input back in the main program, inputs, press enter key to exit. Okay. So let's run this and see what happens. Okay, learning security systems, please input your password. Okay, let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hit enter. Access granted, and enter exit key to exit. So we can hit the enter key. Okay, good. Now, let's run it one more time. Let's not put in the password, see what happens, or put in the wrong password. So in this case, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll just put in like a bunch of characters there. Hit enter. Okay, press enter key to exit. So what it didn't do was actually tell us access granted. It just ran to the next line, or the next executable line, which is line 10. And it tells us press enter key to exit. So what did this do? All right, and why is it working? By the way, this is a horrible example to program passwords, and I should offer a disclaimer that you would never, ever, ever, ever write a program that has the password in clearly identifiable text inside of your program. This is a recipe for disaster. So in real life, what you would do is you would host this on a database, or maybe another script somewhere that only had controlled access. You definitely don't want to store this stuff right and directly in the program. But we can do that because this is just an example showcasing if statements. Okay, so what is happening here? The if statement is pretty straightforward, right? You could probably figure out what's happening just by going through what we did. So how do we create the condition? So this is great for this time, but does it work for every time? Yes. Basically, to create a condition, what an if statement is going to do. If condition, and I can show you a couple of examples of which conditions we can offer. All right, so we can do a little comment here. If state, we'll do setting up statement. Setting up if statement. If condition, we put a colon, and then anything underneath, anything underneath that if statement is going to run as a result of that condition being true. Any code we enter on line 14 there is only going to run if the condition on line 13 is true, meaning that these if statements are essentially true-false questions that we get to ask the computer. And we say, is this state true? And if it's true, okay, I want you to do this, whatever this is. Okay. There is scenarios where we can set this up where we can run false statements, things that will happen if the statement is not true. And I'll show you how to write those in a little bit. Okay. So otherwise, let's move on to the next part, which is going to be dealing with setting up your conditions. Because if you notice, on our conditions on line 7, we see a double equal sign here. And what is that? Why are we putting 2 equal signs rather than just 1 equal sign? Isn't this equal? If that's equal, is this more equal? We'll run through why you do that. And we'll do condition operators. So we'll go through and I'll write with you a couple of different simple conditions and check out the different comparisons we can make and see what they result to. Okay, so what we can do is we can actually run through, there's only a couple in Python, about 6. Okay, and the first one is like we just saw. So let's write a simple if condition. We'll set up a number equals 2, and let's do a number of checks on that number 2 condition. So if num equals 2, print true. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up and I'm going to comment out everything on line 10 and above, all the original inputs, because we don't want that showing up again. And I just select all of it, and I do Control or Command if you're on Mac, Command, Control, / and it will put hashtags in front of all that. Okay, now down to here. Let's run this again. Bad input on line 17. What do I do? Oh, it's this if condition here on line 13. We've got to comment that out. There it goes. True is not defined on line 20. Print true. Oh, my bad. There we go. Okay, good. So num equals 2. If num equals 2, print true. Okay, so what that basically is this double equal sign is a check for equality. Checks equality. This equal sign, a single equal sign, double equal sign checks equality. So a single equal sign is an assignment. We take whatever's on the right side and assign it to whatever on the left. The double equal sign is what you would see typically in like your math class, where you check both sides of the equal sign to see if they're equal to each other. In this case, it's true. Okay. So we have a double equal sign that checks for equality. Let's write another if statement. So we can do if num, we can do not equal to 3. So is it not 3? Print true. Okay, so in this case we get true from the first statement, we get true from the next statement. So it's true that 2 is not 3. So we have that available to us. We can do another one. We can do greater than. If num is greater than 1, print true. Now we get 3 trues. Very good. We got if num is less than 3, print true. Okay, now we got 4 trues. We're rolling right along. We got, next up, we got, we can do greater than or less thans. If num is greater than or less than and equal to, all right, so we can do, or equal to, excuse me, is less than or equal to 2. Print true. Okay, whoops. And we can do if num is greater than or equal to 2, print true. Okay, cool. So we have all our different statements. These are all the different statements that are available to us in Python to check conditions. We can check for equality, for not equality, not equal to, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So in every single scenario, and this is where it gets complicated when you try to program, right? Because like in every scenario that you have in life, if you're going to have a computer make a decision based upon a certain condition, you have to basically boil it down to one of these options. So equality, not equality, greater than, less than equal to, greater than equal to. So, and even then, this works great for numbers, but if you're dealing with text, we can check for text as well too. We just like we saw with our password, right? We can check to see if the two things on either side, if it's the same word, right? If it has the same characters inside of it, we can check for that. We can check for, we can add in some complexity. We can check for the length of an item. But humans in their everyday life are making decisions. You are making decisions about very complex scenarios, and you know, years of evolution have allowed humans to make these decisions very quickly, right? Computers are not that smart, and computers don't have all the knowledge that you have and capabilities that you have. And so things that would seem maybe you even think about when you make your decisions in everyday life, we have to try to translate those decisions into very simple true or false statements for the computer to be able to process and make decisions based upon that. I mean, if you think about how many times that, I know not all of you drive, but you will drive eventually, and or even not even driving, maybe just getting up and coming to school every day, or getting up and checking your virtual school every day. You know, those type of decisions, you know, you're making true false statements. Do I wear this? Do I wear that? Do I log on to this site first? Okay, all those things are decisions you're making. Well, the computer can make those same decisions, but we have to find ways of taking those complex things and making them very, 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 very simple for the computer to understand. Okay, and how do you take something that's complex, like you know, choosing what to wear every day, right? Let's take clothing, for example. There's a lot of selections, right? There's a lot of choices. And even, you know, getting a pair of socks, right? Now, if you're not the type of person that, you know, when they fold their laundry, they put their socks together, you have a sock drawer full of socks. And so how do you find a matching pair of socks, right? And how do you search through all that in a very efficient way of finding the matching socks? Or you just say, forget it and just wear non-matching socks. Those type of decisions can be made with searching algorithms, searching programs, and true-false statements you make a check against. But how you make a check against one red sock and one blue sock, you'd have to code all that in. And that's, you know, a sock-finding robot is, on the surface, not all that hard because you do it every day, right? I mean, it's something that you just learn how to do, right? Find matching socks. Trying to train a sock finding robot is a lot of work. It is. It seems simple, but everything in our life is not that simple, and we have to try to translate those things into a simple language that computers can understand. And with Python, you can do that very simply with an if statement and a condition check. As we go through the rest of this course, I'll provide you some opportunities to flex your muscles here and to practice taking complex human daily life and boiling it down to a true-false statement. Right here, we're just trying to do a simple password checker. Okay, so you enter your password, a small thing that we do every single day. We log into something, we put in our password, right? So what else goes into doing that? All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the next part, and that's going to be the if-else statement clauses.